This afternoon, Supreme Court orders AG's lawyers to file their statement of case in both Delaskai and Dr. Amanda Odoi's case in 7 days. We'll bring you details shortly.
Also to come, concerned grassroots members of Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana threatened to embark on strike. We'll tell you why.
A lot later, increasing calls for action following recent Afrobarometer report, which shows the judiciary among the topmost corrupt institutions. We'll hear from some of the voices. Hello there, you've made it to the last day of October. This is NewsCentral. I am Awin Agbeka.
And I am Kevin. I'm on NewsCentral Stats right now. Now, the Supreme Court has ordered lawyers of the Attorney General to file the statement of case in the ongoing anti-LGBTQ case of both Richard Delaskai and Dr. Amanda Odoi. Lord Eduasare is there for us. He joins us for a bit more updates on this. Lord, good afternoon to you. Tell us what happened in court and why there has been another order, for filing the processes.
Well, it was rather a brief hearing today at the Supreme Court. Now, when the case was called, lawyers representing the Attorney General, led by Chief State Attorney Sylvia Adusu, told the court that she was praying for an extension of time to file their statement of case. Now, at the last hearing, the court had actually ordered both the Attorney General's office and then lawyers for the Speaker of Parliament to file their processes within 7 days. So, in explaining to the court, Sylvia Adusu indicated to the court that she delayed because some documents that she was expecting the lawyers for the Speaker of Parliament to have filed has still not been filed. And once they realized that they had to proceed with it, and that was why she was asking for more time to be able to file the statement of case. Now, when the lawyer of the Speaker of Parliament was asked, he did not proffer or give any explanation to his delay. Rather, he did not object to the statement or the extension of time being filed by the lawyer for the Attorney General. Justice Asari, hearing the matter, granted this extension of time and ordered them to file the processes or the statement of case within 7 days. Lawyer for Richard Delaskai, Bawku brought to the attention of the court that this is the second time that or probably the third time that the lawyer for the Speaker of Parliament has failed to file the fiscal impact analysis, which he should have provided in the ongoing case, but this has still not been done. And so when the case is called again, we'll see how things will pan out from then onwards.
But were there any indications of merging the two cases?
No, actually, there hasn't been any indication of a consolidation of the case of Richard Delaskai as well as Dr. Amanda Odoi. Actually, when the case was called, the same concerns were raised, and then a lawyer for the Attorney General, Sylvia Adusu, prayed for the extension of time, and so the same orders were given to her, which is to file the statement of case within 7 days.
Very well, Lord. Thank you so much for talking to us. We'll leave it here. Lord Eduasare joined us from the courts.
And to the courts still, we're remaining on the courts in relation to their dealings. A Ghanaian citizen, Senyo Husi, he's voiced deep concern about the decline in trust in the country's judiciary. Recent Afrobarometer reports indicate that confidence in the judicial system has dropped from 56% in 2012 to 35% in 2024, with 65% of Ghanaians expressing distrust. He's called for introspection and renewed commitments to justice, warning that public disillusionment could threaten Ghana's democracy. As calls for reforms grow louder, the integrity of the judiciary remains a critical concern for Ghanaians. Let's try and hear from him and a bit more in terms of what he's been saying. Senyo Husi is the author of that open letter. It's actually penned one to the Speaker of Parliament as well, following the ruling yesterday by the Supreme Court. Mr. Hosi, thank you very much for speaking to us this afternoon here on News Central. In your estimation, really, what are the main factors you believe are contributing to this continuous decline in trust in the judiciary?
Yeah, good afternoon to you and you. So I think at the heart of it is it's not just the justice itself that dispense the reasonability of what's experience, but it's also in the manner and the optics around how it's also delivered. And I referred in my letter to the CJ, citing the Apenyo Market case. There are a lot of things that could have been done differently. We still having achieved with while still achieving the same outcome as they actually delivered at the end of the day. The variation of the 10-day ex parte rule. I mean, yes, the Supreme Court has its authority to do almost every single thing. It has the authority to actually go wrong and keep it wrong. You know, that's the power of the Supreme Court. It's a counter-majoritarian capacity and authority that we have extended to the Supreme Court for good reason, I must admit. But if it has to dispense justice and it's not done in a way that becomes consistent with standard practice and in a very politically sensitive matter, it leaves much to be desired. If, for example, he had done the 10-day, he had complied with he had walked the way of the 10-day rule, we wouldn't have much brouhaha around this. There was nothing at risk. There was nothing that was so urgent that the Supreme Court could not have even requested for the counterparties in this matter to have been brought on notice within 24 or 48 hours. Nothing would have been lost as a state, but there will be a better sense of justice, a better experience of justice, and a better experience of fairness, which will not further deepen the tensions that we were all privy to prior to the hearing of the case. The other bit that was quite concerning, it's the commentary that also followed their judgment. When their ruling, you realize that they actually mentioned things about representation and how that ought to be somewhat protected. You realize it is actually passing some kind of thinking and judgment towards the substantive case. That impression itself can suggest some kind of prejudice prior to hearing a substantive case, and that really creates quite some concern for all. Outside of that, the general experience that people have, the speed with which people have justice dispensed to them, becomes also a critical matter for
well, Mr. Hosi, an argument that can be made quite easily. An argument that can be made quite easily. We've heard the justification from the Supreme Court yesterday, citing the fact that over hundreds of thousands of people were going to be disenfranchised if they allowed the stay for just 10 days, and the ripple effect on the MPs themselves and the possible implications on what they contribute towards the governance process, amongst many other things, has served as a basis. Then there is those who argue that, what do you want the Supreme Court to do when there is an argument of law which they believe sticks? They side with the masses who may be wrong just for the sake of it. Is that the argument you're making?
No, you see, what the Supreme Court judges wanted to protect could still have been achieved without this brouhaha. You have your applicants coming in for an interim injunction, interim order for 10 days. Read their own application, it was clear. But you decide to give them more than that, which is not normal, especially when it is ex parte. You create unnecessary problem. You still can renew that after that 10 days if you want to. By that time, you would have actually had the defendants coming to also make their case in court. And there'll be a better sense of justice. And after that, you issue an interlocutory injunction if you so wish. I mean, there was nothing urgent. Nobody was disenfranchised necessarily at that point. Parliament was not meeting. You could have actually invited the people to come after 48 hours or 24 hours. So people come on notice. Nothing would have been lost. But I'm not saying, that's not to say that they actually did it with ill thought. You can realize that from her ruling yesterday, her attitude, she seems very perturbed, very worried about what she thought was a halt in government business, which I don't think is really accurate. But that is her perturbation. That is the desperation she feels for all of us as a people. So while it may have come from a very good heart, the optics left much to be desired. And I think that going forward, the Supreme Court ought to be quite conscious about the challenges of trust with the entire judicial system. So when they dispense justice, they must also be actively concerned about how it is dispensed to carry the people along at all times.
And you believe yesterday's
Look, the bedrock of our democracy is our judiciary.
Right.
It is where finality to all conflicts will be brought. So anytime there are problems, that is a place where everybody must find as a safe haven at any point in time. If you have only 30% of the public trusting the judiciary that much, my brother, we are standing at the brink of something that could be much messier than we think it is. And this is statistics. We have to be careful how we really manage our fragile democracy. Right. Things are not all good in the state. If you remember, our former national security minister, what's his name?
Kandapan, and the caution he had to.
No, the one under Kufuor. One of the most potent security ministers we've had. I've just forgotten his name. He said it recently during the Republic Day lecture that all is not well. So let's be careful how we manage our affairs.
And you believe the ruling yesterday did not further serve the interests of the judiciary any good? The decision and the justifications and the laws they backed in arriving at the decisions, it's still not serving their interests in painting the judiciary as an independent body?
One, I must commend the CJ for allowing cameras in there. It was a very, very good move to help boost transparency and trust in the entire process. All right, but I'll be grateful if all of them can actually manage their mannerisms a bit more, especially when there are cameras in there. Many people are new to the judicial system. They get access to the courts through the television for the first time. How they see people conduct themselves, how they manage, would really shape and deepen some of their prejudices, even going into viewing what is happening in court. So I'll urge them to be a bit more camera aware in their conduct and their communication while in court. I agree, it's a unique place. It has its own style. That is not in dispute. But when you have to carry a people along, you must put some more consciousness around your communication.
My last question to you will have to do with your letter to the Speaker, where you're asking him to proceed a bit calmly and allow for sleeping dogs to lie. What would you expect of the Speaker? There are those who make the argument that he might want to flex his own muscles and the likes going forward. What would be your expectation and what are you asking of him?
See, I have a lot of respect for the Speaker, just like I have respect for the Supreme Court. But all of them must realize that they are foremostly citizens of the state. They are actually servants of the state. They are not lords and gods of their own. The power emanates from us, the people. We have extended that to them. So their steps at every point in time must engender confidence and support from all of us. We must protect the state. We cannot nurture a state of lawlessness, arbitrariness, and also facilitate the development of a banana republic. You may not like one thing or the other, but we all went and gave up our rights into a constitution we all partook in. I always say that this constitution was written was written foremostly by non-lawyers and lawyers. For the Ghana Bar Association opted not to partake, but they found other ways to participate. But in all honesty, everybody has a share in that constitution. I'm not a lawyer, but I would always assert my right to discuss the constitution because I gave up my rights to be there, just like you also did. If the Speaker, with clear visibility of what this constitution tells all of us, that finality on orders and on conflicts will sit with the Supreme Court, and that has been exercised. Whether it is right or wrong, whether it is just or not, that is not the authority we give them. We hope that the Supreme Court will do things that are right and just. But the Supreme Court itself may go wrong. But even when it goes wrong, we have authorized it to be the finality on all conflicts. And we cannot perpetuate that unending. So the Speaker, with all due respect, with all the experience he has, it's time for him to be a statesman. It's time for him to let go the egos of man. And Alban should actually be the statesman with whom and through whom I believe posterity will get its time. So please, respectfully, we can have a situation where the Speaker disregards the orders of the Supreme Court. What you do is that you set a precedent authorizing other organs of the state and agents of the state, other agents of the citizenry, to also find authority and power to also disregard the Supreme Court. What then have we created? Created a state of anarchy, a create where finality to conflicts cannot be realized. We'll create a banana republic. Neither of us
right then
would ever want that to happen to our state.
Right then.
We have one Ghana and we need to protect it.
Mr. Hosey, I appreciate that you could speak to us this afternoon. Senor Hosey, the penned two separate letters, open letters really, to the judiciary and then the Speaker, and you heard him in those closing remarks or closing statements with regards to the Speaker and the fact that he must act as a statesman in protecting the democracy that we so enjoy. Still on reactions from the Supreme Court Committee?
Indeed, Imani Africa's Franklin Kujo has expressed his outrage over what he perceives as hypocrisy in the Ghanaian Supreme Court's handling of political representation cases. Kujo, a vocal advocate for the disenfranchised Sancho Kofi, Akpafu, Lolobi and Likpe residents, criticized the Supreme Court for prioritizing the concerns of 4 constituencies whose MPs and seats were declared vacant after nearly 4 years in office, while neglecting the plight of the residents of Sal, as they are known, who have faced systemic marginalization. Franklin Kujo recounted the community's struggle for legal recourse, highlighting that their case was dismissed by the Supreme Court, which directed them to the High Court. After 3 years of litigation, the High Court ruled it lacked jurisdiction on the matter. And quote from that statement, he says that while we have paid taxes and been left without development, the Supreme Court appears to offer swift support to other constituencies. Franklin Kujo questions why the same urgency was not afforded to the people of Sal, suggesting that the court's actions reflect political bias rather than impartial justice. Now, the controversy has reignited discussions about the fairness of the judicial processes in Ghana, as many continue to call for equitable treatment under the law. Chief Justice Gertrude Saki Tokono this week ordered the closure of 7 courts in the Upper East region in the wake of escalating violence in the Bawku area. The measure, according to her, was to ensure the safety of judges, staff and court users. The affected courts are High Court in Bolgatanga, Circuit Court also in Bolgatanga, and District Court in Bolgatanga, as well as 4 district courts in Zuarungu. The rest are district courts in Zebila, district courts in Garu, and Bongo. Abdullahi Yakubu is General Secretary of the Judicial Service Staff Association of Ghana. He's joining us for a bit more on this. Good afternoon to you, Abdullahi. How many judicial staff are we looking at these courts, and how has the conflict impacted your work generally?
Good afternoon to you and your viewers, and thanks for having me. The number of courts that the staff population in this course ranges from 70 to about 100. We have an average of about 12 staff in each of the court. So we're talking about 100 staff who are going to be affected. And in fact, the effect is not really on the staff. The staff would have loved to work, but for their safety, We are already looking at the effects on the communities that are affected. Because it means that by closing down the course, it means that the course are not going to work. It may only have to be the watchmen who will be at the various places to protect the course properties. And the citizens in those areas are going to be denied access to justice by virtue of the conflict situation that we are.
Well, Abdullah, did we lose you there? Abdullah Yakubu, indeed. Abdullah, we lost you a little bit. If you could go backtrack and tell us what you were saying. Oh, it would appear that connection. Abdullah, go ahead. We can hear you now.
Yes, so it is a sign to all of us that we should consider using non-violent means of addressing conflicts when it occurs instead of using violence.
I see.
Because apart from the judiciary not being able to provide our services to the people affected, other public service institutions in Bulgaria itself are no longer rendering service to the people, and the citizens of Ghana around the areas are those who are going to be affected. Innocent people are going to be affected. So
Indeed.
This is a sign to us that we should consider using nonviolent means of addressing conflict instead of using the guns in this northern area.
Very well, Abdullah. So the cases that should be heard in these courts, what happens to them?
So once the court is not coming,
it would appear that
when the situation, the court, those cases would have to be adjourned, but certainly not now. When the courts resume, the public will be informed. If you have, then you have a new date given to you.
I see. And what happens to staff? Are staff distributed to the other courts? Is that the case?
It's a temporary measure. So for now, no, the staff will just have to be at a place of safety because it is done in the interest of their safety. As and when things normalize, they'll be brought back. But if it is going to prolong, the Chief Justice may direct them to report to nearest courts to provide services there. For instance, the Bawku court has been closed down indefinitely, and when the court was closed down for that long period, the staff had to be distributed to other courts to provide support services to those courts until it resumes. So this is temporary measure. The situation is being monitored. As and when things normalize, they will report to work. But if it's going to prolong, definitely an intervention will be provided based on intelligence on the ground.
And you mentioned that this is a temporary measure. How temporary is it? How can people whose cases will be adjourned because of the situation there expect their cases to resume?
So for now, we cannot tell. The decision was taken based on intelligence and the security advice. When the situation is monitored and government also upped their game to ensure that normalcy returns to the affected areas, the Chief Justice will be advised accordingly and a directive will be issued to allow whether all the courts will resume or which part of the course should be allowed to work.
I see. Abdullah, thank you so much for talking to us. Abdullah Yakubu is the General Secretary of the Judicial Service Staff Association of Ghana. He was explaining to us how, case loads will be affected by the Chief Justice's decision to close certain courts there because of the security situation in the Bawku area. We can now bring you Regional Hub.
I was starting with spot checks on ongoing registration and orientation of first-year students in senior high schools and TVET institutions across the country. My colleague Irama Smith from the Western region reports that some of the schools are now combining online admission and manual to enhance the process. She was at a registration center earlier and she's been providing details as to what she's found while touring some of the schools in the Western region.
So I am currently at the Takoradi Technical School in Takoradi, and unlike yesterday when there was a huge crowd here, today it's virtually non-existent. The institution seems to have adopted an innovative way to ensure that the registration goes on smoothly in spite of the challenges with the portal and the index numbers. You will recall that yesterday there were challenges because the document that they received had the index numbers, the first few and the last few index numbers of the students. So it made registration quite challenging. But now I understand they have asked those who have been posted here to print out their results and bring them themselves, and they would help with the process. So they take your results and then they give you the prospectus, they take your contact. Later, they would help you or give you a link for you to complete the registration. What we understand now, though, is that there hasn't been any communication of the date the students are supposed to report, but they have been given the prospectus.
The registration is cool. They just took our contact and the index number of our case. They took index number of our case and they said they will give us the contact, so that when they give us a contact, we bring the child to school. No problem about it. That one, no problem. They said the date will be given us later. So when they give us the date, then we bring the child to school. Yeah.
I'm done with registration and fill my prospectus. They say I should wear white or black sneakers, brown coffee sandals. So I'm happy.
So Irama interacting with a parent and a ward. But I also asked Irama a lot earlier what she gathered about payments of levies and observations in the schools.
There's nothing like monetary exchanges going on here. In fact, my investigations indicates that the heads have been asked to ensure that they limit the human contact. One, there shouldn't even be a desk here for the Parents Association. You will realize that in some of the schools, especially the renowned schools, most of the times there are desks there by the Parents Associations where you pay the PA dues and all that. That is not being allowed here. So you just come in. Even protocols, they have indicated that even protocols are not supposed to pay money. One other thing too is, you know, some schools prefer their own choice of clothing. At times it's a checkered fabric or whatever. But this time around, if you want to go contrary to the directive by the Education Ministry, I mean, their prospectus, the general one, you have to seek clearance from your regional education director. So all of these are being complied with here, and everything is going on smoothly.
My colleague Irama Smith, who I interacted with earlier, monitoring the ongoing registration for first-year students at senior high schools across the Western region.
We can now go to the Eastern region, where the Regional Security Council has urged traditional leaders and stakeholders in the Kwewu traditional area to promote peace. Chairman of the RECSEG and the regional minister said Kwame Ichampong made the call during a visit to Abetifi and Impreso.
Realized that it is prudent to hold such stakeholder engagements with our traditional leadership. The reasons are simple. Our traditional leaders are the custodians of our lands and of the property and assets we have. And the religious leaders, Ghana being a very religious state, they are a very important religious body. And as a body whose responsibility it is to keep the public safety in check, we deem it right to have such an engagement with our stakeholders so they help us to disseminate the peace message, to help mitigate against the buildup of tensions within the last mile of the electionary campaign of 2024. So for us, as a regional security body, our focus is to have our region very safe so that each and every person can go about their normal chores without any hesitation. So we are just doing a routine exercise that the Regional Security Council have embarked on to bring some stability and the continuation of the peaceful engagements we've had since the outset of this administration.
That'll be all for Regional Hub. You're still here. Following us on Instagram at 3news.com. You can also get breaking news stories, quote cards, and behind the scenes content all in one place. Don't miss out. Follow 3news.com. News.gh now.
Welcome back to News Central. Now, a group calling itself the Concerned Grassroots Members of the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, CTAG, are threatening to embark on strike because of government's failure to implement the National Labour Commission's arbitral awards. CTAG in August called off its two-month strike initiated on June 14 in response to the government's inaction to improve conditions of service for its members. Let's engage a member of this new group who are seeking to challenge the national leadership of CTAG, Dr. Issa Bala Abdullahi. He speaks for the Concerned Grassroots group of CTAG. He's joined us via the phones. Doc, thank you very much for speaking to us. Talk to us about this strike you intend embarking on and what is necessitating it. Government has still not met the demands for which reason you called off your strike months ago?
Yeah, thank you very much, and good afternoon to your cherished viewers. This is precipitated because, as you know, we embarked on the longest strike in the history of CTAG, over 79 days, and the government actually signed an MOA with us that by the end of October, they are going to try and then migrate us and then implement our future award. My brother, as we speak today, October has ended, and there's no sign of the payment of the migration salary. There's no sign of the all-year-round payment too. We have gone on 3 strong strikes. We have attended 44 meetings over 2 years now, and nothing is happening. And we think that the government actually wants to shortchange us. They actually don't want to implement the arbitral award. And for that matter, we just suspended the strike. And the grassroots are saying that we should try and go back to the strike again. And that's the reason why we are embarking on.
If you're to return to strike, that should be the call of your national executives. Why are you not going to them at your various campuses and pushing and pressing for them to return to strike?
Actually, the national executive, their term of office has expired, and because of that, they are actually not working to our satisfaction. Their term of office actually expired before we went for the strike, but we thought that we could allow them to remain so that they could fight for us. But through their actions, we have seen that no, they don't want to fight for our interests. Rather, they are trying to fight for the interests of the government, and because of that, we want to take the destiny into our own hands to actually make sure that this arbitral award is implemented now and now.
If their mandate has expired, you should be causing a fresh elections, elect new executives who can proceed to put or hold the government's feet to fire and pay your money. Shouldn't that be what you should be targeting rather than an industrial action?
Yes, that one is actually is ongoing, but actually we have to have our right because it's our political right that the government is actually sitting on. So we also have the right to embark. Mind you that the strike that we embarked on was just suspended. It was not called off. And the government, we told them in the letter for suspension that if they don't pay the salary or migrate us by the end of October, we are beginning the strike. Once they have been met on their promise, we are going to go on.
How long is too long for you to see action from government before you proceed on this industrial action?
I think if by tomorrow they tell us that they have migrated us, fair enough, because salaries for November is being imputed. Let us see the evidence that they have imputed our salaries to the migration. Then nothing will happen. We'll call off the strike. Nothing will even happen. We're not going to go on the strike. But as we are speaking now, nothing is happening. And we think that the government has been unfair to us. They have actually deceived us, especially the office of the vice president, who came in and said that they are putting their integrity on the line. We should trust them to make sure that our award is done. But as we speak now, nothing is happening.
Doc, we'll leave it here. That's Dr. Issa Bala Abdullahi. He speaks for the Concerned Grassroots of CTAG. We'll see if that industrial action kicks off tomorrow. But a reminder that we are your election command center.
We are your election command center. Now, the NPP says it is targeting over 300,000 votes in the Volta region ahead of the December 7th polls. The party's director of communication, Richard Ahiagba, at a press conference in Ho, said the NPP in the last 8 years has done a lot of development work there, accounting for a steady growth in its support base in the region. Let's speak to Faisal Abdul Idrisu, who's our Volta region correspondent, joins us with some updates on the news from the news conference in Ho. Faisal, good afternoon to you. Let's talk about the NPP and their bid to increase their votes in the region to 300,000. What makes the NPP think they can do that? What did he say?
Began their insurgency, so to speak, on the Volta region in the 2016 election and, of course, in the 2020 election, where they made sure that a lot of people they perceived to be Togolese, particularly in the border communities, were not allowed to vote here in the Volta region. And that actually decreased the NDC's vote in the border communities, particularly. But further to that action is the party's agenda to create an impression in the minds of the people in the Volta region that their association and loyalty to the NDC since 1982 has not actually yielded any positive result in terms of development for the region. And so they are presenting themselves as a better alternative, hinged on the fact that they claim that in the last 8 years as a government, they have done so much for the region. And so they are so confident going into this election.
On the ground, would you say that the support base for the NPP has grown over the years?
Yes, in the last election, the NPP had 100,000 votes plus, which they never had in the Volta region. And so, on the face value of things, the NPP has grown steadily in terms of their support base. Now, going into the 2024 election, you see a number of people you might have not seen in the past associating with the NPP. They are doing so now. But also, it's also true that a lot of people who voted for them in 2016 and in 2020 have returned to base. The base, I mean the NDC. And so it is not clear as to whether the NPP will be able to get the votes they are saying. The NDC, on the other hand, is telling us that they will get 95% of the total votes in the region, which they claim they are working towards. And so it doesn't look very clear for the NPP as much as they are saying, but they remain very confident.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Faisal, for talking to us. Faisal Abdul Idrisu is our Volta region correspondent. We can now listen to the NPP's National Communications Director, Richard Ahiagba.
Since 1992, the NDC and the NPP have contested for the votes of the good people of the Volta region, and the NDC has consistently won the lion's share of the votes in the Volta region. This consistent electoral support for the NDC in the Volta region has earned the region the designation, the World Bank, or the stronghold of the NDC. And as you know, the same is true for the New Patriotic Party, whose World Bank or stronghold is the Ashanti region. Notwithstanding the loyal support of the Volta region for the NDC, the party has not treated the Volta region as a political party should treat its stronghold in terms of meeting the development aspirations of the people. The Volta region has not seen expected investment to create jobs and improve the regional economy, health infrastructure, education, trade, opportunities under all NDC governments in this Fourth Republic.
We'll switch attention, perhaps staying with the NPP still, but this time up north, because wife of the New Patriotic Party flag bearer, Hajia Samira Bawumia, has emphasized that the development of the north hinges on the commitment of the people to vote for her husband, as his leadership will bring tangible improvements to the area. She noted that northern Ghana needs development, underscoring the importance of enhanced infrastructure, accessible healthcare and educational facilities. At a rally in Savelugu, Hajia Samira Bawumia passionately urged the people to support her husband, Dr. Mahamadou Bawumia, in his bid to become the next president of the country. Christopher Bawku followed that and is joined us. Chris, talk to us first off about the reception and how well she's doing with regards campaigning in the northern parts of the country.
Yes, so Marina, the reception has been massive because a lot more party supporters of the ruling New Patriotic Party have been out in their numbers to support the second lady and wife of the MPP flag bearer to, as it were, canvass for more support for her husband in the northern region. You know that the northern region over the past year, since 1992, has been one of the strongholds of the NDC, even though the MPP has appreciated its goals over the years. And so the reception has been massive. She's also been calling for the electorates to vote for her husband because she believes that the husband will come and continue with the legacies and projects, programs of the MPP-led government under President Akufo-Addo. Let's take a listen to what Hajia Samira Bawumia has been telling the people of Savulgo and the North in general.
Constituency, inshallah, Dr. Bawumia is bringing 1 million digital jobs for the people of Ghana, and Savulgo constituency will get its fair share of it. There's also a women's fund to support women who want to trade, and Hajia Fataya will come to Accra and bring the Savulgo constituency their share of the women's fund.
As wife of the NPP flag bearer, Hajia Samira Bawumia. Earlier, my colleague Christopher Bawku providing details there for us in relation to her tour and the dynamics in the north.
Flag bearer of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama, is promising a government that is religiously tolerant of all faith-based groups. The government has come under criticism over the Hajj fares that have seen many Muslims struggle to pay for their pilgrimage. Let's take a listen to John Mahama speaking at the palace of Kumbungu Na.
NDC makes sure that we prevent discrimination against our people. And that is why in our manifesto we've said that we'll prevent religious discrimination. And we have the track record for it. When I was president, they were asking some students and nurses not to wear their hijab to work. And I said, no, that is against the constitution. Because the Ghana constitution says that you are free to belong to any religion and you are free to express your religious identity. And so NDC is the government that will prevent discrimination against persons of the Islamic religion. People will be free to do what they have to do to show their identity as Muslims or Christians. When NDC was in government, you needed only 11,900 cedis to perform the Hajj. 11,900 cedis. That's 110 110 million Ghana cedis, 190 million cedis, all cedis to perform the Hajj.
We'll now turn to the U.S. elections, where Kamala Harris and Donald Trump have held competing rallies in swing states of Wisconsin, where polls suggest the race is very close. Trump appeared in a garbage collector uniform, a reference to Joe Biden appearing to call the Republican candidate's supporters garbage a day earlier. Biden denies that is what he meant. Kamala Harris, while campaigning, vowed the cost of living would be her focus every single day if she wins the elections, and told young voters, your vote is your voice. Dr. Hayford Nsia is a political science and public policy analyst. He's joining us from the U.S. Doug, good afternoon to you. It's morning where you are. But tell me, it's, 5 days to the elections? How would you say the race is shaping up?
Well, this particular election has been described as a very, very tight race. As of now, all the polls are indicating that there is no clear winner. So even though it's 5 days to the election, all the candidates are seriously campaigning, especially in the swing states. So we are just hoping that everything will go peacefully, and then by Wednesday we will know who is going to be the next president of the United States.
I see. Now, both candidates, held their rallies in Wisconsin. We also know that Trump was in Pennsylvania, where the support was really, for some people, surprising. But first, let's talk about Wisconsin, where Trump showed up in the garbage uniform. Was that a political point just scored there, would you say?
Not necessarily a political point. Once the election is so close, every statement that you make, your opponent will always try to score a political point with it by trying to misconstrue or trying to give a different meaning to what you said. Right? That's exactly what is going on. They are trying to use it as a bullet pulpit where they take advantage of your words, give meanings to it, so that it will swing or it will sway voters to your side. That's basically what Trump is trying to do.
I mean, on the other hand, could the comment pass by the current president, Joe Biden, which he further, explained, could it have some consequences? Could it impact Kamala Harris's, support base, negatively at this point?
Not necessarily, because that has even not been a discussion in most of the major news, but rather Trump describing Puerto Ricans as trash. That is what is being trended. Now, more than 50,000 eligible voters have already casted their vote. So it's too late to influence anyone at this point. If people have made up their mind is already made up. They are going to vote for whoever they believe in. So at this stage, those kind of rhetorics doesn't really bring any change, or it doesn't impact voters in much ways.
Very well.
It may really affect a little bit of undecided voters, but I don't think it's going to make any significant difference.
I see, and Kamala has been having difficulty extricating herself from that comment. She's responded to media questions on that, where she stated that she is strongly against any comments against anyone at all because of who they support. Is that helpful?
It's very helpful, because even though she is the vice president, but at this stage, she should be able to distance herself from whatever the president will say or the actions and inactions of the president, because it will sound as if he's doing the bidding of the president, because most people are saying that there's no difference between Harris and Biden. So she's trying to distance herself to bring a clear-cut difference that she is a person of her own, and she doesn't really do the bidding of the current president. That's exactly what she's trying to do.
Indeed. More importantly, we know that for a lot of American voters in this election, the economy and inflation are top two on the issues top of mind for voters. I do want to look at the fact that at the Wisconsin rally, the vice president talked about dealing with the cost of living for the American people every day, if or when she becomes the next president of the U.S. How crucial was that point she made in Wisconsin?
That has been a point she has been trumpeting, because now prices of commodities, especially food, health care, and education is going up, right? So most Americans, especially the middle class and then the lower class, they are always at the receiving end anytime there is increase in taxes or prices goes up. So Harris is looking at how she will bring down these prices so that the lower income families and the middle class will not spend a greater portions of their earning on things like food and rent. That has been the case. Yeah. And that has always been what the Democrats stand for. The Republicans are looking at how they will be able to increase taxes and how they will be able to strengthen the economy, how they will be able to help companies to grow up. Yeah.
Absolutely. Doc, I'm afraid we'll have to end our conversation. That's all we have time for. Dr. Hayford Insia is a political science and public policy analyst. Thank you so much for your time.
I lived at Angloga and I had my basic education at Way, a town in the Volta region of Ghana. When I was at JHS, it wasn't easy for me when it comes to my financial aspect because my mom is a seamstress and as well as a trader, and my dad engages in farming activities. But God being so good, the government of Ghana brought up this free SHS policy. So I'm so happy that the government have brought up this policy. That is making me also to have access to secondary education. One day I would like to become like the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, Dr. Mahamadou Bawumia. That is, I want to become an economist. He is my role model because I believe he has been one of the best economists ever in the world.
Protect free SHS. Vote Dr. Bawumia, #1 on the ballot.
My life wasn't always like this. I worked in a bank and had money in bonds to cushion me for the future. Then, with a stroke of a pen, my life was destroyed. My bank was part of the 420 financial institutions which the MPP government recklessly collapsed. What was to become the life of the workers? No one in this insensitive government cared. And suddenly, I was jobless. Their incessant borrowing also led to a debt restructuring program that affected me, and just like that, a significant portion of my lifetime investment vanished. Even worse, my lifetime savings from 30 years of hard work has been rendered useless due to the continuous depreciation of the cedi and extremely high cost of living in the country. Now, look at me. The fruits of my toil and sweat have all gone down the drain because of bad leadership. What to eat with my children is even a struggle. God, help me and the many who share in my pain. Let the wickedness of the wicked come to an end. Change must come.
Vote for change. Vote for John Mahama and the NDC.
And that's it from us here for today's edition. Just before we go, though, there's a place you have to be to find all things newsworthy. That's 3news.gh on Instagram. Do well to follow and get update and exclusive videos by following us on Instagram. The handle is 3news.gh. Time for us to head out and make way for the afternoon show. I am Mawina Igbeta.
And I am Kemeni Amano. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Papa Sammy! I beg, if you find something small, give us.
Bro Sammy, you see, no be say boys no want do nothing and just they rely on handouts. Just no deal.
I understand your hassle. Hope they come. John Mahama, they come do the National Apprenticeship Program where he go sort you guys.
Brother Sammy, waiting with that.
John Mahama knows say no be everybody where won't work for office. Like me.
That one day is true.
Under the National Apprenticeship Program, young men and women where they won't learn craft will be enrolled under the program and attached to a senior craftsman who will train them for free.
I beg you, mechanic day inside. Me like this. I don't want to learn mechanical, but the course no.
Mechanics day inside. Organizing, dressmaking, fabric making, catering, hairdressing, tiling, painting. What they even sweet about this whole thing, they say, when you plead, the NDC government go make sure say they go give you certificate where you go fit take go look for job anywhere.
That's sweet. Oh, that's be wonderful.
Another wonderful thing they say, when you plead, the NDC government go set you up with startup capital and equipment to make sure you can start your own business.
Wow! I dey go shop in my town wait 7 December.
Vote for change. Vote for John Mahama and the NDC.
Loves a woman. And men just gonna take you there. Men just gonna take you high.
and Castro. True face, you don't know, come and follow. Oh yeah, make me go. The penny was for me. Look up for me. The penny look for me. The penny was for me. Look up for me. The penny look for me. Today. So all your ways. Because of you, I go sell my land and buy you car. You be too much, I like it, come and do that. And you want to love me, bro. Oh, baby, I feel what you do. I go crazy. Do. Hey, come and do that, do. Come and do that, do. Baby, come and do that, do. Do. Hey, come and do that, do. Pum. Ow. Come back for me, I love you. So I no go make no wrong move. Tonight I go rock you. You go open your mouth and talk true. I go within your body. You go call me your jolly. Umbaga wege, this is real and this is it. Oh yeah, this is real and